Charter schools, as you know, are public schools, financed by the public, but have the possibility to be run independent of the public school system. By independent, what do I mean? Independent is you hire teachers who know something. They're not necessarily accredited teachers. You pay for performance. You don't have unions. You pay for results. The local school district doesn't control what goes on in that charter school. The charter school looks at international standards. You would think that charter schools as a form of competition would be a logical extension for the United States after 50 years of struggling to turn the K-12 system around. Unfortunately, there are 11 states in the U.S. where charter schools are still illegal. There are only 4 states in the U.S. where charter schools run relatively independent on the basis of they're independent of the K-12 system, they're independent of the unions, they're independent of accredited teachers, they're independent of control from the established people who control K-12. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. It's in Maricopa County. It's a pretty good example. The top 10 high schools in Arizona, which has the most liberal charter school laws in the United States, the top 10 high schools in Maricopa County are all charter schools. How is it possible that none of the public schools can compete? Because they haven't decided to compete yet, but charter schools are showing the way. If you do anything when you go home to your state, make sure that your state has charter laws which allow the flexibility for competition. Great teachers is item 3. All of us grew up and were influenced by a great teacher somewhere in our history. And I would contend that every one of those great teachers was an expert in their subject material, an expert in the subject that they taught. One of the great weaknesses of the U.S. public education system is we have undergraduate schools of education that primarily focus on the pedagogy of teaching and not the content of subject material. Let me be bold enough to propose that we follow the lead of few schools of education around the United States, like the U-Teach program in Texas, which is now being proliferated, and others, where we do away with undergraduate schools of education and demand that every teacher major in a subject, the subject that they're going to teach in our public school system. There is no replacement for knowing the subject. And especially in science, technology, engineering, math, you cannot infuse in a child the wonder of those topics if you don't understand the subject material. The 4th one is the use of technology. There are wonderful uses of technology in the classroom for simulation, for distance learning, etc. But as a guy from the computer industry, when I'm always asked, what piece of technology would you put in the classroom if you had your choice of only one piece of technology, my answer is always the same. I would put a good teacher in the classroom before I would put a single piece of technology in the classroom. Good teachers are magic. Computers aren't magic. The technology is merely a tool. The teachers use the tool if they know how to use the tools and if they know the subject that they're teaching. The last suggestion I have really follows along a lot of your work in this foundation in terms of the private sector trying to influence what goes on in the public schools and influence kids to get interested in math and science and technology and engineering. What you do by exposing kids to space, the wonders of space, what FIRST Robotics does in terms of getting kids involved in robotics competitions, and what you can do with math and science and technology. What the company I used to work for, Intel, does with its science fairs, getting kids interested in learning by exploring, learning by doing rather than just reading about it in books. What changed the equation is a recently formed group of 111 companies who are involved in the science and technology areas trying to do consolidating the private sector to get kids more interested in science and technology. We in the private sector can play a huge role through our corporations, our corporate associations, to get kids interested in math and science. I applaud what you're doing in this foundation. Just do more of it and make sure that your companies are doing it as well. I don't think it's too late in the United States to fix this, but we are certainly a nation at risk as we stand today and you look at the performance of each of our high school graduating classes. Every child in this country should have the ability to pursue his or her dreams, and technology and science and math is an integral part of dreaming beyond what we know today. We should make it possible for every kid in our country to qualify to follow their dreams. It's not a federal government issue, frankly, folks. It's at the local level, and we are the local level in making this happen. Thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes tonight's Corporate Partnership Dinner, co-sponsored by Lockheed Martin. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you and good night.